It's because what's it called? The housing, like, okay, I was sitting yesterday at like 1 p.m. I'm like, all right, I'm about to get my room, right?
Right.
So I logged on like 12:55ish to like, so I wouldn't be like at 1 p.m. I log in, first thing, it just like kicks me out instantly, like after I'm waiting for a bit because it started lagging as soon as it opened up at 1. So then I was like, okay, I had to relog back in like 15 times in a row, just kick me back and forth.
No.
But then I did that, and then I got into the place where like it shows you available rooms. I was sitting on that page for literally like 40 minutes, bro.
Right.
Because the servers were just like bad. And then afterwards, I saw the rooms. I kid you not, it was like not even 2 minutes of like looking for a room, and then it just said you're on a wait list. Like it just took away all the options. Like you're on the housing wait list. Like there's no available rooms. I'm like, dude, I didn't even look like for real yet in like other places because I couldn't get. Battlefield like filled up. There's only like one spot for like 3 different rooms.
Oh, I guess you're a sophomore, right? That's why.
I couldn't choose. I didn't know you could choose returning room and then just change your room. If I had known that, I would have like said, yeah, I'm returning, and then like tried to find something else. But I didn't know that, so I was just gonna be like, okay, I'm not gonna return to my room. I'm just gonna pick a different room. Right. Did not get to pick a different room, and that was like, oh, I'm just like, what am I gonna do, bro? Because if I don't get a room, they're gonna put me like in like law or something. I'm not trying to be a law. So I might just get an apartment.
There's plenty of 6-pack rooms still. Surely there's still plenty of other 6-pack.
Yeah, but they're probably reserving them for like the influx of freshmen that they have, so they don't have the same like little issue.
Wait, you can't do that. Wait, freshmen normally sign up like super late, like in May or something. Right?
Yeah, but they have to have rooms available. Yeah, and I'm not gonna wait until like some person leaves for their apartment lease.
Yeah, but we get first choice because we're older.
Yeah, you would think so, right? Yeah. But no, they just like reserve the one. Because I saw there were 3 spots still open. I know they didn't all fill up, and then they're just like, nope, no more available spots. So I'm like, I know they have spots, but I'm good. I have no room. I'm literally homeless, bro.
Nah, it's fine. It'll be fine.
Anyway.
You need some, you know what you need? You need some acetaminophen.
What is that?
You need some acetaminophen.
That literally says acetaminophen, bro.
That's what I said.
That is not what you said.
Acetaminophen.
Okay, how do I start? I haven't done a podcast in 2 weeks. That's crazy work.
Is that a long time for you?
I mean, I do one every week, so it just feels good. Anyway, welcome to the Living Proof Podcast. I'm here today with Jason.
What's up?
And today, we are not talking about housing. We're going to be talking about... Wait, spiritual housing. Okay, yeah. We're talking about housing, but like spiritual housing. Like kind of predestination, like where we're supposed to end up. So like my starting verses to start today, Romans 8:29 through 30. For those God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. And those he predestined, he also called. And those he called, he also justified. And those he justified, he also glorified. So like just starting off, I want to ask like what is your take on predestination? Like just, you know,
that's a great question. So I would say like maybe the first, I don't know, maybe like up until this past month, I would say predestination is pretty bogus. Like part of it purely out of the reason that it just seems so outside of God's character that it would make sense. Like it seems like so like not loving to predestine certain people for arbitrarily for heaven and hell, right? Because then it's like, what's making you choose certain people over others, right? It just doesn't seem right, you know? If it's like, to us it seems random, and maybe it is random, I don't know if it's true, right?
Yeah.
But I think that was the main reason I thought it was pretty bogus. Up until this past month, we started talking about it. I started talking about it with my roommates more, and like, honestly, it's more legit than I might have thought. Maybe it's not all just like, it's actually not like that. It's some weird like, part of it is like, perhaps it's true and we'll never like fully wrap our minds around it. Just because it's so like, it doesn't make sense to us, you know?
Yeah.
And then part of it is like, the parts that we are able to understand, like, low-key, some of it is pretty valid. I don't know, bro. I don't know. There's like an acronym. Let me see if I can find it.
An acronym for
There's an acronym for like the 4 like axioms of predestination. It's called like...
okay, that's sick.
It's fine. Let me look it up. Predestination. Axioms. Slide them out. It's like Lotus or something. Oh shoot. The predestination beliefs. Yeah, I need a better word. Well, I'm finding it. What about you? What have you...
I mean...
What do you think about predestination?
I think... At first, I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, so there's no way, like, that would make... there's no way that can be true, because then there's no like free will involved, because we're all just gonna end up where we're supposed to end up anyway. But then as I've been doing these podcasts, and as I've been like getting more into the word and understanding God more, I'm like, okay, God doesn't even act like within my realm of understanding. So like, even the fact that we still have free will and he knows that like everything we're gonna do, that even like goes beyond my like limit of understanding. Right. So like, we can still have free will and he still knows like everything that's gonna happen. So like, in the same sense, we can still have free will and he still knows like where we're gonna end up. But does he like, I don't think he like makes us, like forces us to go one way or the other.
Right. That's like the key distinction, I think, where it's easy, the easy understanding of it, or like the understanding that we have of it is like essentially like, God already knows what's gonna happen. He doesn't force the outcome, you know. So in that sense, you could argue that's like, I don't know. That you could argue some sort of like, some form of predestination like that, where it's like, God knows where we're gonna end up, but it's not like he makes anything happen, right?
Yeah.
But the question is, does he actually make anything happen? Because he's definitely, we know that God is sovereign, you know, and he's in control. So if he's in control, this is like an absolute truth that he's in control. So then, how would it make sense for him to both be absolutely in control while also not determining where we end up, essentially? That
is true, yeah. And I think, like, it's just weird to think about, because, like, even so, like, nobody, we have to, like, in this verses, like Romans 8:14 and 15, it says, for those who are led by the Spirit of God are the children of God. The Spirit you received does not make you slaves so that you live in fear again. Rather, the Spirit you received brought about your own adoption to sonship. So, like, we're not born with the Spirit that we receive that makes us go to heaven. We have to receive it. So, like, in that receiving of the Spirit, I don't feel like you can't be forced to receive something in a sense. Because God, like, you know, God offers, like, salvation and a Spirit to everybody. But in the same time, it's like, I'm not forced to take, like, I'm not forced to get the Spirit. So I feel like if I were forced to be into salvation, like, forced to believe that God is, like, sovereign and that I'm going to heaven, then it would be like, okay, then yeah, I don't have a choice as to where I end up, because I'm already forced to be either a follower of God or not a follower of God, follower of the world, whatever.
Right.
But then it comes to the terms of like Pharaoh and like the old Exodus books about like God hardening his heart so that the Israelites can like escape, and so he can demonstrate his glory. Like, did Pharaoh have a free will in his choice to like disobey, as opposed to God hardening his heart and making it so that he wouldn't listen? But I think that gets convoluted as well, because like God, 5 of the plagues were God just, you know, giving him a warning, and then 5 of the plagues were after Pharaoh's heart was hardened. So it's like, some of it, like after it was given to a point where Pharaoh definitely wouldn't like choose to go back to God, then God was like, okay, I'm going to demonstrate my glory by hardening his heart. So I guess in a sense he like kind of intervened, like did act, but then it's like, when does God step in and when does he not?
Right. Because to us it seems like it's like, let's say, for example, in this case, like I guess we know, right? God intervened in Pharaoh's heart and hardened it so that he would continue to like whatever, to unleash the plagues, I guess, right? Essentially, Pharaoh's heart was already in a place of not obeying God. Yeah. God was like essentially giving him over to that. Be like, okay, you don't want to obey me, that's sure, right? So then it's like, okay, well, if that could happen to Pharaoh, then who's to say who else it could happen to?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Because like, how often, like
what determines like far gone enough? You know what I mean? Exactly. I guess God knows, you know?
Yeah, but there's like, essentially you're never too far from God, is what we always like say. So it's like, at what point does God then harden your heart?
Right.
Or does he unharden it and then you can come find him again? Like, I feel like maybe that was like one specific example and he doesn't do that anymore, or he does that and just not to the same level of extremity. I don't know. Because it's like, it's weird to look at that and be like, and then following verses, it's like, let me like see if I can find it right here.
Let's see.
Please go. Oh my gosh. It's saying that in verses 9 or 18 through 20, that I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing to the glory that will be revealed in us, because creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed, and that creation was subjected to frustration not by its own choice but by the will of the one who was subjected to it. So like God kind of subjects creation to its own little frustration. So it's like, in the sense that Pharaoh was subjected to like hardening his heart, are we subjected to like the same forces that just like we have no choice over the forces we're subjected to? And in that sense, God will just like harden our heart or not harden our heart, and we have no choice in that matter. Or do we have a choice? And then it gets to a point where God's like, okay, you've used up like your free
trial. Free trial, bro.
In a sense, bro. But it's like...
Yeah, let's go back to this. Let's go back. How do I go back? Let me try this. Let's go back to the beginning of this. Oh, wait.
The beginning is... Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory. Creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. For the... What is it? Mercy. For the creation was subjected to frustration not by its own choice, but by the will of who subjected it. So, in hope that... Okay, whatever the rest of it is. Interesting. So what is frustration then?
That's what I'm saying. Like, creation was subjected to frustration.
What is frustration necessarily? Because you think if it was like harsher, like trials, like testing, they would use that word.
Yeah.
But frustration seems almost like more mild. Like you get frustrated over like a teacher or something, you know?
Yeah, but I feel like you get frustrated when things don't go your way. So like maybe creation's like subjected to that because it's like its desire is different than God's desire. Because it's saying not by its own choice, but by the will of the one who subjected it. So like it's subjected by God's like will in a sense. So like kind of frustrated with his will.
Interesting. Yeah, well, that's super interesting because we just said that God doesn't supposedly doesn't affect the outcome. He just knows what's gonna happen. But this makes it seem like it literally says, "But by the will of one who subjected it."
Yeah, but
he doing the subjecting.
Yeah, that is true. It's like it's weird to think about because God acts and then God doesn't act. Like he acts on creation, then he doesn't act. He influences people and he doesn't influence. He works miracles and then he just sits back and lets faith like be shown. So it's like weird to think about in that sense, like in the sense of Pharaoh or anybody. Like, does God act upon you to harden your heart, or are you just like subjected to that and you can't change it, subjected to frustration of this world, and you're just like, oh, what was me? God sucks. You know, life sucks. I can't get my way. I'm going against God's will, kind of thing.
By the will of the one who subjected it. What does that mean?
You would think it. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if that meant. That might not mean God, but I feel like who else could subject creation? Yeah, who else could subject creation? Let me go through
this acronym. So TULIP was the original. Okay. The 5 points of Calvinism. Total depravity, which is like essentially like humans are like by nature sinful, right? And there's no saving humans without God. Unconditional election. I think that's the idea that like God doesn't discriminate on who he chooses versus who he doesn't. So it's not arbitrary, which is good. It's not like he randomly is choosing who he's at all. Limited atonement. I think that means like by definition, like only certain people will be saved. Like we already know, like the devil will get wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, this is like as sad as it is, it's like the truth that like not everyone is going to be saved, right? Irresistible grace. It's like once you experience the love of God, it's like why would you not accept it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And perseverance of saints. Not sure what that one means though.
Maybe like persevering through hardships and like.
Yeah, let's look it up. Let's see. TULIP. 5 points of Calvinism. Come on now. Oh, bro.
Dude's got a whole essay.
It's a paper, bro. I'm not gonna call that. TULIP.
Look at that academic journal, bro.
Academic journal. TULIP. What? TULIP Calvinism. There we go. Here we go. God keeps those who he has saved and will not allow them to fall into condemnation.
So we like persevere in our faith.
So essentially, it's this once saved, always saved argument.
Yeah.
So once you're saved, then it's like God won't ever let you go, which seems biblical, right?
Yeah. I think the most interesting part is that like third point that like the certain amount of people that will be saved as opposed to the people that won't be saved.
Right.
And it's like what then determines that, and that gets into the whole argument of the predestination in the first place. Like, does God like select few people and then the rest are just like.
I think it has to do with the fact that God is also like all knowing. Like it's like weird because he knows, because he exists outside of time. He knows who's going to accept him, and who's not. Right.
Yeah. So
in a weird way, he is choosing people, but he's choosing the people that he know will accept him because he exists outside of time.
True.
So to him, it's not like decision made, like, or like decision, because the decision being made implies that like we're in time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's more like he just like knows. He knows these. He knows people. These people, whatever, certain people, certain doesn't have to mean like they fit a criteria, but like certain people will accept them.
Yeah. I think that's,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's interesting because it's like,
so technically he's saving certain people.
Yeah.
That's only because he knows that he exists outside of time, and he knows they're gonna accept it.
Mm-hmm. I find it tying into like Jesus like going up and interceding on our behalf. Like he only intercedes for the people that he like knows are, you know, like turning to him and are saved, but like knowing that while also choosing that is like such a like weird thing to think about because you can't know like knowing it's like knowing who's gonna come to your house party, but also choosing who's gonna come to your house party.
Right.
Like you invite everybody, and you know only certain people are gonna pull up, and other people aren't.
Well, let me think about that analogy. So knowing versus choosing. I guess it would make sense if we knew for a fact who's already. Oh, this Loki does make sense. Here's why. Because let's say you have like a group of friends you're already tight with, and you know they're gonna go because you're tight with them, right? So when you invite
relationship
them,
with God, okay.
So you know that when you invite them, of course they're gonna go because you're tight with them.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like when you choose to invite them, like it makes sense because you know they'll go.
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, of course you're also gonna invite people who you don't know will go, but you still invite them.
You still invite them because like, you know, it's a party.
Right.
But then it's like, do you know for knowing for a fact?
But that's like different because we don't know for a fact if your friends will actually come.
Yeah,
you know
that's different.
Right.
That's like just basing.
You just have a pretty good you just like know, have a pretty good idea.
But like God knows, like, he knows for certain.
Right. So if anything, it makes more sense for him to invite.
Yeah, but
he knows.
That does make more sense. But then it's like, some people are like, oh, do I not get a choice? And like, it doesn't matter what I do. I'm either going to like heaven or hell already. So like, it doesn't make a difference. But if you don't work to like develop that friendship with like the host, then how are you gonna like get invited to the party? You know
right.
Like it's like a kind of a twofold thing. Like if I know that God's gonna invite me into His grace and into His fellowship, then if I just act like entitled to that, then it's like the same way if it was a friendship. If I act entitled to my friend, like, oh, they're gonna invite me to this party, I don't have to talk to them at all. They're just gonna invite me. And then when that party comes along, they're gonna be like, who do I invite? I'm gonna invite the people that I was close with. And this person that thought I was gonna invite them, you know, they don't really know. I don't really know them, so I'm not really gonna invite them. So in the same sense, like people could be like, oh, I don't really know where I'm gonna go. Like I already know God already knows where I'm gonna go, so I don't have to do anything. Then it's kind of like subjecting yourself to, in a sense, the latter half of the argument where you're like, okay, I'm gonna go, like you go to hell because I don't really know you. You're not really developing that relationship, as opposed to people that are certain that they're gonna go, like they know where they're gonna go. God already knows where they're gonna go, but they act upon it and they act on that relationship so that because they actually love God, they're not out of fear of like where they're going. I feel like that's also like I feel like that could also relate to the party because like if you only care about the party and like how the party goes. Let's say
the party is going to happen.
Yeah.
And okay, I guess this low-key works. Say the party's going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're friends. Let's say you are friends with the guy, right? And you know you're gonna get invited.
Yeah.
So then it's like, if this for some reason this party is like the pinnacle of whatever, it's heaven, right? In the analogy. So then it's like, I already know I'm gonna get invited, so it doesn't matter if I'm like tight with him or not. I'm still gonna get invited, right? That's not actually true, right? The only reason you're getting invited is because you're tight with them.
Yeah.
So it's like you need to have that relationship with them in order. It's like in order for it to make sense to be invited. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because then it's like the same idea of like, oh, I already know I'm going to heaven, so I don't have to do anything, right?
Yeah.
It's not really how it works.
That is not how it works. Because like, yeah, that's true, but. It's just like faith. Like faith is shown by works. Like that sign of your friendship is shown by what you do. Like how you reach out to that friend. So like
obviously you don't have to do anything to go to heaven.
Yeah.
But it's like,
if you like truly have faith, you'll want to do stuff because that's just like how it works.
Right.
If you are truly friends with someone, you'll want to hang out with them. You'll want to talk to them. Not like if you're, oh, I say I'm friends with them, but like you don't want to talk to them. You don't want to do anything. You just want to get invited to the party. Yeah.
That's funny.
So it's like I feel like that's the same.
It works.
Somehow. That's like the same thing when it's like people are like, oh, I'm afraid. I only care about going to heaven. I don't want to go to hell. Like I'm afraid of hell. Like kind of thing. Like you're afraid of not getting invited, and that's not like.
That's why I feel like it's honestly like so much deeper. That's one thing I wish they talked about in like churches, like at least like growing up or whatever. Like they made it seem like the party is like the pinnacle of it. Like going to heaven is the pinnacle of it. But the truth is, like, Jesus saves us, like now, you know what I mean? Like, we're saved now, too. Like, the life we live now is also part of, like, the saved life.
Yeah.
It's not just, like, we're just, like, chilling, waiting to go to heaven, you know?
Yeah, I feel like that isn't a point that a lot of people talk about, and I feel like that's a lot of them point, because they're like, oh, we're waiting for our treasure stored up in heaven, blah, 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 but, like, there's work to do now as well. Like,
and this is still, like, a gift. Life here is still a gift.
Life is such a gift. You know how much I think about that, like, all the time,
bro?
I'm like, dang, I really get to experience, like, the human experience, bro.
Yeah.
Because, like, imagine if God never, like, created us and we just never got that. We were just chilling in heaven the whole time. Yeah, it's perfect and all, but, like, we would never experience, like, I would never experience a leaf falling into my eye and, like, messing up my vision, bro.
I've been thinking about the opposite lately. What if I never existed?
What if you never existed?
Not like died. Not like
no,
died.
yeah, I know. Like never was a human.
Never was a human. Would I rather that? And part of it is like, I guess that would be nice. Because then it's like, I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But also like, I don't know. But you're right. There's like a lot of life is just a gift. So it's like, how would I want? How would I feel like that?
It would be great, yeah. And once we experience it, it'll be great. But it's so much more. It's so much greater because you know the other side of it, right?
Right.
Like we're living now and experiencing a world that's full of sin, full of like perverse thoughts and corruption and all that. So how much more is it going to be better when we go to heaven, when we experience that perfection, as opposed to already being there? And like Satan, like he was like, oh, I should be God. Like, bro, had it all and still wanted more.
Still
like,
squandered it.
Us like not even having it all, and then we get to see how much more like.
Right.
How
and
much
even
greater
in the
heaven
brokenness
is.
of this world, it's still like God is still good, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like even like, I think one of the things I learned last semester was like I wrote this paper on from one of my classes. If God is good, why does He let animals suffer? So it's like the original argument is like problem of evil. Like, oh, if God is good, then why do humans suffer? Like you can argue like, oh, He gave us free will. We like chose sin, and now this is like the consequences of sin in the world, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense. But for animals, it's like okay, these are these like living creatures that don't sin because they can't sin, right?
Yeah, they don't have the concept, yeah.
So it's like, then why do they suffer? There's like forest fires, there's like predation and all this stuff. It's like, if God is good, why is He letting like this unjustified suffering happen for no reason, you know? So I was sitting there, I was like, oh shoot, I guess He's lucky, right? Like, why does this happen?
I feel like you know.
Yeah, I'll see what you think. Actually, I'm curious before I tell you what I wrote.
I was just gonna say like to think of like just like in reference to like the forest fires, right? Like some of that is like natural, like just unfortunate like consequence, and I feel like that's a result of just like the world not being perfect, and like stuff like that happens. But it's also like there are also some man-made things that happen. Like some forest fires are due to like pollution and like people not taking care of natural resources, and so they don't really care about the environment. Environment gets really jacked up, and then animals suffer because of that, because there's like pollution in the air, animals can't breathe, animals start dying, boom, extinction happens and stuff like that. So I think a lot of it then ties into the corruption of man, and like, okay, yeah, they're not really necessarily doing anything wrong, but our given purpose is to like care for the world and have dominion over it, right?
Right.
And so sin corrupts that. Sin then allows us to not care for the world and not have dominion over it, and that extends to all of nature, whether it be the trees or the ground or even animals. Then we refuse to have care over them, and then they suffer from the byproducts of our like carelessness in a sense. So I feel like some of it ties into that. I can't say all of it, but like some of it ties into that.
Some of it, yeah.
At least that's what I think.
Yeah,
like, based off
I think it's pretty valid. I think that's what I wrote as well. Where I was like, as much as I was trying to find like a way around it, like logically, not to say that this is a logic, but like find another way around it. You know what I mean? I think I can, and I was like, dang, I guess it really is just like when we sin, like sin just like corrupted the nature of the world, right? Now these things just happen, you know?
Yeah.
It's just how it is, you know? And it's not like God wanted it to be like that, right? It was like our choice, and these are just the consequences of our actions, you know? Whether we meant to or not, you know? It's just how it is now.
I think that's interesting to think about, like all the things that just happen, like as a byproduct of sin.
Right.
Like natural, like trees dying and trees decaying and stuff. That's not meant to happen, bro.
Normal, yeah.
Like trees in heaven, leaves don't fall off, they don't die, they don't get old. They just stay forever. It's like evergreens permanently, bro.
Yeah, right.
But it's like all the natural things that happen just because of sin is like crazy to think about. So it's like, yeah, you know, some things don't like necessarily bad things happen, but it's just like a cause of the world just being the way it is.
And God can still use it. You know what I mean? Like maybe He didn't intend for those things to happen, but it doesn't stop Him from like.
He still uses it for glory, man. Like the colors changing in the spring and
nice.
the fall, beautiful, bro.
Right.
Such good views, and I'm like, man, imagine how great it like. This is such a privileged thing to say, but it's like so great to be alive, bro. Like honestly,
I don't think it's too privileged. Right?
I feel like some people don't want to be alive. Some people are in situations where it's like, man, living is hard. Like they don't have it. I'm sitting in a room. I got a bed. I got 2 screens on my desk. I got a microphone. Like some people don't have that. They don't have food in their room. They don't have a house to sleep in, bro. They don't have a bed. They're wondering where their next meal or where their next like pair of clothes is gonna come from. So it's like, not everyone can relate to the fact of like, oh, life is so great.
Yeah.
But I feel like even like if you find God even in that suffering, I'm not saying the suffering goes away, but like, you know, I saw a post the other day. It's saying like sometimes God doesn't go around, like it doesn't make a way around your problems. He makes a way through your problems. And so like how God like parted the Red Sea, he didn't go around the Red Sea, he parted it. So they went through like their little issue. And so I feel like sometimes if you find God through your suffering, it makes it a whole lot more bearable as opposed to, you know, trying to find a way around it and trying to think, oh, woe was me, everything's miserable, man. And like that's obviously hard to do. It's not easy. Like I'm saying it's definitely very, very difficult. But I feel like that alone makes every situation so much more bearable and makes it a lot easier to say, go through situations like hunger or anything like that. My grandmother, I'm gonna share like a story about my grandmother. Like she was going through like cancer at the time, and it was like 2013. We were having surgeries up until 2017, and it was like on and off like every year or so. And in 2017 is when she like really was like hospitalized and had to like stay in the hospital. And I remember the last surgery that she could have done, it would have like they would have been able to fix the problem, right? But her body didn't have enough strength to like go through the surgery, so they had to like struggle with the decision of, do I do that, or do we leave it? And so they eventually just decided to leave it. And so I remember that as we were going like reading her obituary, and I think my uncle said that like her last words, even as she was like laying in the hospital bed, was like, God is good. And so it's like crazy. Like to think about like even through that whole suffering, like I know that thing was so hard for her like to go through, but even then she was still praising the Lord and saying that he was good. It's just like, it's a crazy thing to think about, bro, and how much peace God brings through any like situation and any suffering. Now, was that easy for her? I bet it was not. I bet it was terribly tough, but it probably made her life, like her struggling a whole lot, you know, a little bit more bearable. If not a lot, then at least a little bit, because you know that God will provide for you, God will provide for your loved ones, God will provide for, you know, anyone in the interim. So it's like, it's just something crazy to think about. But hey, God's good, man. Life's good. Life is good.
You know what? Maybe you're right. I've been too cynical lately, I think.
Cynical?
I don't know. This whole, like, maybe it's better if I don't exist. Nah, sorry. I didn't actually think that.
No, it's just wondering. It's a thought. I feel like I have those thoughts, bro. Like, I was low-key going through it, like, 2022. I was like, man, what if I actually just, like, didn't exist today? Mm-hmm. Like, what if I just, like, somehow, like, taken my life? Or what if I died and, like, I wasn't alive to experience where I am today? Mm-hmm. Like, there's so many experiences I would have just left unfinished. Right. And I feel like that's a lot that ties into, like,
Yo.
So it ties into, like, suicide and stuff like that. Like, if I end my life today because my suffering is so great, who's to say that, like, the suffering won't go away in the future kind of thing?
Yeah, that's true.
But then it's also, like, I guess the argument they might use, like, who's to say it won't, you know? Because, like, what if the suffering just continues forever? It's been going like this for years upon years. It's never going to get better. Blah, blah, blah. Like, I just feel like life's just not worth living kind of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I saw this thing recently. It was like, I don't know where it's from. It was like, suffering doesn't, like, end the pain. It just, like, passes it on, you know? Like, even if you know, take your own life, it's like, well, now, like, the people around you gotta...
That is true, yeah.
It doesn't... consequences.
Because you and your pain... And I saw a take, like, that says suicide and stuff like that is, like, actually really selfish. And I'm like...
Interesting. I've seen that, too. I saw it in... have you seen Sherlock before, the show?
I haven't. I've seen, like, clips of it, but I haven't actually watched it.
This is one quote, too, where it's like, your life is not your own. Keep your hands off it. I was like, dang. Actually, like, pretty solid.
That's low-key a bar. That's low-key a bar.
It's not our own. Like, we can't touch it.
Yeah, that is true.
Like, I've heard this idea of, like, oh, it's actually, like, selfish. Which seems pretty, like, mean.
It is mean, yeah, but, like...
But also, I think there's some, like, element of truth to it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of truth.
As bad as it might sound to say, like, it doesn't actually, like, fix it.
Yeah, I think... Because, like, when you're going through that, not to, like, knock on everybody that's going through something, but, like, when you're going through that, most of the time, all you're thinking about is yourself and how much pain you're in, right? It's not
Which
like
is natural, of course.
Yeah, it's natural to think like that. But then again, if you then take your life, you are like your pain's gone. Yeah, but think about all the people around you, all the people that were like trying to help you or trying to get to know you, even, and like now they have to deal with you not being on the planet anymore.
Right.
And then I know, like me personally, I would feel a little bit guilty because like I couldn't help them enough to the point where they just felt like the world was too much, and so I'm gonna be like, man, I wasn't there for them. I didn't help them out enough, and it's just gonna weigh on my heart a little bit. So it's like, yeah, it's your pain kind of goes away, but in the same sense, it's like carries on to everybody else.
Right. It's interesting how it works, and it's tough because it's like obviously people in those situations feel like it's the only thing they can do, right?
Yeah.
It's like get rid of the pain, and of course, it's like the first thing. It's like a high priority, I would assume, to stop feeling pain, but I don't know. Maybe part of it is like, I don't know, dude. Maybe it's like, I don't know. It's like sad, but it's just like, I don't know, not the right thing to do, essentially, you know? Even like it's understandable, but even so, it's like, you know, it's just like,
yeah.
Oh God, what other word than like, just like not okay, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like it sounds very like harsh, but you know.
It is harsh, but it's like it is true, and I think not the best thing to say to someone going through that, but like
obviously, like don't tell someone.
Don't say that. Yeah, you're being selfish, man. You need to think about other people. But anyway, all that to say, like, hey, bro. Yeah, God knows where we're going.
Yeah,
I think another verses, like kind of verses that relate to are like Romans 9:14-18, and like, what then shall we say? Is God unjust? Not at all. For he says to Moses, I will have mercy on who I have mercy on, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. If it does not therefore depend on human desire or effort, but on God's mercy. For Scripture says to Pharaoh, I raised you up for this very purpose, that I might display my power in you, and that you might, and my name might be proclaimed in all the earth. Therefore God has mercy on whom he wants to have mercy, and he hardens whom he wants to harden. So it's like, that whole passage seems like at the end of the day, it's just God's choice to like who he has mercy on, who he gives grace to, and who he doesn't. But at the same time, it's like, it's also tied into like our free will. Like God already knows, and he already like a sense chose who he has his mercy on, but like he's not gonna harden your heart unless you don't want him in the first place. The same way, like you're not gonna reject a friendship or like not interact with someone unless they don't want to interact with you, kind of thing. Right. So it's like, and it's that same like house analogy. Like if someone's not coming to my party and they're like, "Oh, I don't like you, man, you suck," I'm gonna be like, "Okay, like cool, I guess." I'm not gonna want to interact with them because they don't like me in the first place. So why would I invite them in if they've been being mean to me, being cruel to me, not like treating me like a friend in the first place? Right. So like having mercy is then like, I saw a thing about mercy and grace. Like grace is not giving us things we deserve, and mercy is giving us things we don't deserve. Or I think it might be the other way around, but I'm pretty sure. Grace is not giving us what we... No, grace is giving us what we don't deserve, and mercy is not giving us what we deserve. Yeah, that makes sense. So mercy, then... Like, think about... I guess, yeah, this makes sense. Like, God is like the... You know, he's like the creator of the universe, right? And us, like... Think about how annoying it would be to, like... Or think, I guess, like, in a parent sense. Like, your child's mean to you. They have no right to do that. You're, like, their parent. You're like, okay, I should punish them. But, you know, I'm going to give them mercy. I'm not going to give them what they deserve because, you know... They're my child. I love them. I care about them. I'm just going to let them go about their day. So I think God's sense of mercy on having mercy on who he wants to have mercy on is like, okay, this person's rejecting me. They're kind of calling me names and all that. But I'm not going to punish them. I'm not going to take out my anger on them. I'm just going to, you know, let them do what they want. And they'll receive their due punishment in due time. So,
wait, and then mercy though, you think? What do you think?
Mercy, like not punishing them instantly?
Yeah. Wait, but we define mercy as not giving someone what they deserve, right?
Yeah. If you're attacking like the creator of the universe, I feel like you deserve like some like even then you're like acting in sin. Like if you're slandering God's name and stuff like that, that's still acting in sin. So in that viewpoint, then it would be like, okay, this kind of warrants some kind of punishment or something to that degree. But God then being merciful doesn't give us that due punishment and then gives us chance after chance after chance to receive his grace, which is then giving salvation, which we don't deserve.
Right. So that's whether we accept it or not.
Yeah.
Supposedly. I mean, supposedly.
I think free will definitely exists. It's just convoluted to think about it in the sense of God's like.
Right.
God's like point of view, because we can't even wrap our heads around being outside of all three dimensions. Like, how do you even do that?
Yeah, I just can't.
Like to think, like cannot wrap your head around it. So to wrap your head around him knowing our free will, even while we still have free will, is impossible.
Yeah, it's impossible.
But that being said, it means we still have a choice to like, worship him, glorify him, develop our relationship with him, and I think that's like the whole like the point, Whether or not you're like going to heaven or not, I think it's still important to like develop that relationship with God. Because you can know you're going, but in the same sense, if you know you're going and do nothing about it, then where's the evidence of your faith?
Like in a way, like heaven is not even the end all be all.
Yeah.
Like, the relationship with God is it.
Mm-hmm.
And heaven is just that, like.
Yeah, so it's like the treasures that are promised to us. Right? Yeah. So it's like you can go getting a relationship with God, then solidify your place in heaven, but that's not what you're going for.
Right. The goal is. I mean, it sounds weird to say. I guess the goal is not really heaven per se, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, actually. Is that right to say? Can I say that?
No, I think that's right, because when you're thinking about it, like, you want to develop a close relationship with God, right? You want to spend time with him. You want to communicate with him. The best way to spend time and communicate with him is in person. So it's going to be in heaven.
Yeah, right.
So that's like the fullness of our relationship with God is when we're in heaven. So it's not going to be like, oh, now like where we're just talking to him in spirit and like feeling his presence and stuff like that. We're going to actually like be in his presence.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's like the whole point of heaven, to be in God's presence.
Yeah.
But then not going to go to heaven if you don't want to be in God's presence. So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
There's nobody's going to bring you there if you're not going to be like, okay, God, I don't want to be anymore. Like,
yeah, I'm good.
Right?
Yeah, right. It's a little strange.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting topic, but you got any like closing remarks?
What do you think? Yeah, I got one more little thing. One more what's the word? This is one of the biggest reasons I was considering Calvinism, was like, okay, this idea of, what was it? Essentially total depravity, where it's like, we're so far gone, right, that we need God to save us. So, let's say, for example, right, there's someone's not a Christian, and then, let's say, like, we talked about this idea of receiving, right? It's like, what does it even mean to receive, right? So, do you think that as a depraved sinner, right, that you, by yourself, without God's help, are able to come to the conclusion that you need God and accept him as your Savior?
Without God's help, coming to him without his help?
Yes.
I think there's no simple way to answer that. I want to say yes, but it's also, it like comes full circle with God's will kind of thing. Like, I can be living my life and just randomly experience God without like he doesn't have to actually act upon my life to like witness God. Like, I could witness God in some other person's life and like see how he's impacting them and be like, okay, maybe God's real. Let me look into this and like read the Bible and then realize, okay, I myself am a sinner and that I need to come to Christ.
Right.
But I feel like that still ties into then God's like plan and his influence like on our lives. I feel like God acted, like God gave us a chance to come and recognize who he is and like develop a relationship with him. And I think that action alone ties into like every experience that we have with God. Like, every experience we have with God is like him reaching out to us, trying to say, here, come to me, have a relationship with me.
Right.
So I think that, and from like a direct, immediate sense, that we can find him without his action, but it all then ties back into him, like his initial action of giving us that chance of salvation.
Right.
So I feel like even as like a sinner, you can be like, okay, yeah, I need the Lord, and he may not have directly impacted me. I may have seen him in my friend's life. I may have gone to church one time and like something about it just like, I don't know, resonated with me or something like that.
Well, exactly. What is that something? You know
yeah.
What I mean? Like, this idea is that saying that like essentially you need God to be saved. Not just like him offering salvation, but also like you literally need him to work in your heart for you to like understand and accept it.
I think that is true. Like, you need the Spirit to understand.
Exactly. Like, you need the Spirit to be like, to work in you to make you realize that you need God.
Yeah.
To accept him. But then it's like weird, because then it's like, well, then it's literally up to God who does get saved and who doesn't. Because it's up to whose heart he works in,
Yeah, but you have the choice to accept him into your heart,
Right, but you can't even fully accept him without God working, Because then it's like weird. It's like, well, you can't it's not like our what's the word they use? Receiving is like fully autonomous.
Yeah, I think it's like it's a two-way. Like God comes and works, but we have to be willing to work with him. Like, you know what I mean? Like
true.
He can
so there's
come,
still some autonomy.
Yeah, you can ask him to work into your heart, and he can be doing the work. But if you don't actually act willing to receive it and act upon it, he has to have something to work with.
Right.
So there's no desire, there's no like relationship to develop. Then God can like work on your heart all he wants, but if you're not willing to receive him, if you're not open about it and like continuously going to him, then it's not gonna seem like it's doing anything. And then you're just gonna be like, I'm asking God to work, I'm praying, why is it not working? God must not be like present or real, and then you just like close off your heart when it was never really open in the first place. You know what I mean?
I see. So even so, there's still some autonomy.
Yeah.
There's still like a receiving. You know what I mean?
I think so.
That's from our end.
Because if you don't receive it, then like, say if I'm handing you this calculator, right?
Right.
If you don't stick out your hand to receive it, I can't fully give it to you, right?
That's true.
I can be sticking out my hand, giving you all the waving in your face, whatever. But unless you take it and pick it up,
right.
What is that gonna do?
That's a good point. But you did like force my hand to move.
No, I didn't.
Just heavily implied that I should take it. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, God heavily implies that we should take salvation, but like it's still our choice.
Right.
It seems better to some people and not better. Like, say if your major was English, why would you need a calculator?
That's true. Why would I need this right now? Even
Exactly. Like it may seem better for me, who's an engineer, to take a calculator as opposed to you, who was majoring in like English or something, to take a calculator. Same thing with salvation. Like it could appear better for me to receive salvation as opposed to you, because just our viewpoints, the way we've grown up, stuff like that. But it's the same level of value.
Better or like you mean easier to accept?
I think easier to accept.
Yeah.
I'm saying like it's the same value, but like it makes more sense to accept it in one sense as opposed to another.
Right.
Like same calculator, same function, same purpose, but it's just different. Has different value to me because I use it every day.
Yeah,
and exactly. I'm a part of it every day as opposed to you who uses the calculator maybe like.
But essentially, we all need a calculator.
Exactly.
For this analogy. Okay,
yeah.
Like we all deep down, we're all engineers.
All right. I don't know if I mean. Yeah, sure. We're all engineers that down. I mean, we all learn math.
Right. Exactly.
So like we all need math, but like, and calculator helps you do math. We all need salvation. Jesus leads us to salvation.
Right,
so
exactly. So it carries.
Yeah. Hey man, how was class, man?
It's just a tan discussion.
Mid.
There's not much to talk about.
That's fair. But yeah, I just think I don't know. Weird, very interesting topic, but that's
interesting topic, but good things to think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's all I got, Brian. Closing question. Closing remark.
Valid. All right. Yeah, that's probably it. I don't know if I'll be here I might be doing something next week. I don't know. What is that? The day after election day? Dude, you know what's been making me upset?
Oh, nah.
Everybody, okay, guys, look, I have no issue if you voted or if you didn't vote. I have no qualms with you if you voted for Trump, Kamala, some third party. I don't care.
Okay.
But I also don't care if you went to vote. Don't post it on your story. I don't care.
Hashtag voted.
I'm like, dude, I've seen everybody post about it, and I'm like, bro, like, yes, I'm gonna vote. Your post doesn't encourage me one way or the other, bro. It just makes me aggravated because, like,
if anything, I'm not gonna vote.
Yeah. At this point, like, bro, why would I? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
They're like telling me to go vote is different than just posting on my story and saying voted. Like, okay.
It's just like it somehow turned into like a trend, bro. Don't ask me how.
I guess so. Like everyone's posting like saying, "Oh, I voted, go vote." Like, thanks, man. I was already gonna vote anyway. Unless I'm not going to vote, then it matters. Like to me, it doesn't matter one way or the other. I'm not gonna vote based on some other person's opinion. So why are you posting to tell me to go vote?
Yeah.
But
that's tough. I'm glad I deleted Instagram at the right time, bro.
Right, bro. It's mainly on Snap. I see it more on Snap than on Insta.
Really? Okay.
Instagram, they post like all the things about like why it's important to vote. And that's acceptable.
Sure,
like,
sure.
I vibe with that. But like just saying go vote and like posting that you voted or that you got your ballot or something. Who cares if you got your ballot, bro? I'm sorry, but I don't care. I say this with love. Joking, guys. I don't care. It really doesn't bother me that much. But it's just like, man, bro. Like, dang. I didn't know it was that important to post your ballot. Maybe I'll get mine and post it and be like, guys, go vote.
Go vote.
But yeah, that was it.
Too funny.
All right. That's all. See you guys next week.
All we got.
And yeah, bye.
Toodles.